Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Modern Metaphysics Inner Conquest, the world's greatest YouTube channel for all things law of assumption and law of attraction. I'm very happy that you're here today. Now, I want to talk about the difference between assumptions and attraction, because those are the two primary laws that we essentially operate with when using metaphysics to our advantage. So when you look at law of attraction, that essentially means that like attracts like, right? So if you are holding a dominant thought, or you're holding a dominant feeling state, or you're holding a mood, that frequency state and that mood will magnetize things to it that are similar, right? So a classic example would be if you have someone who is, they date a certain type of person, right? Like you've probably seen this person. Like they always date this type of person. They break up with that person. They attract the same type of person. It's the same person in a different body, right? That's because the law of attraction will continually show you what your frequency emission is, right? And frequency emission could be explained as your core state or your core vibrational output, which is clocked in by how you feel, right? And how you feel is programmed by the dominant thoughts that you think all the time, right? So if you're thinking, I'm the best, I'm the greatest, I'm this, and this, that will magnetize similar experiences to reflect that internal state that you're cultivating. So law of attraction is very important because what it does is it turns your entire third dimensional reality into just gas gauges, right? You can tell who you are by law of attraction because you have a full blueprint readout of your inner frequency based on your external reality. It basically showcases your beliefs, right? And a belief is just a thought that you repeat over and over and over again. So when you look to change your reality through law of attraction, what you're doing is you're changing those core beliefs, which means you're thinking new thoughts over and over and over again. So if you have a thought like, money's hard to come by, you're changing that thought to money's abundant, money's everywhere, and you're doing that internal work to shift those dominant thoughts over and over and over again to change that state and then magnetize to you the contents of that new state, right? So law of attraction is all about attracting through disciplining your thoughts. Law of assumption is more on the beingness side. So when you're using law of attraction, you're more mechanically using thoughts, you're using emotions, you're changing states. Beautiful, works great. The law of assumption is really, really powerful because law of assumption goes back to, if you look at the Bible, the story of the Garden of Gethsemane. So the Garden of Gethsemane is essentially resting in the state of a wish fulfilled. And it takes a bit of discipline because if you have a car in the front yard, right? So say, you have a Ford Taurus or a Lamborghini. Say you have a Lamborghini. You have a Lamborghini in the front and you've had it for 10 years. Your internal state is so used to having that Lamborghini that if you had it stolen, you wouldn't even go out and check for it, right? You would just assume that your Lamborghini's there, right? You may go 2 or 3 weeks knowing that you have a Lamborghini when it's been stolen for 3 weeks. Like your state wouldn't shift because you've had it for so long. It's out in the front, and then you go check and you're like, oh shit, it's gone, right? But that whole time your state was of having it, right? When you want something and desire something, that is the opposite state of having. So desires are very important, but desires are the first echelon of creation, right? It's a remembering that you have something in a fourth dimensional reality. While it may not be physicalized yet, if you desire something, there is an aspect of you that has that and wants to experience that again. That's a really important thing to remember, and also build into your identity that you are the version of yourself that has everything now, right? You have everything now, but if you had everything all at once, it would be too much. So you limit yourself to essentially experience you could go back to law of attraction, a vibrational escrow of limited wavelengths of consciousness, which allow you to limit, and not just limit, but focus your reality, right? It's like if you play a video game. If you go and you play a video game, I'm in the world right now, but I want to go play a game where I fly spaceships, right? In the spaceship game, I can't go and cook food. You know what I mean? Like the game is focused to create a focused experience. If you play a racing game, you're there to drive cars. If you play a human game, you're there to do human stuff. So when you have a human experience, you consciously limit your bandwidth so that you get to have a more focused experience, right? You get to have a more personalized experience, because if you're everything all at once all the time, there's no separation, there's no object-subject relationship, and there's no ability for you to gamify and structure it. So what you do is, when you are operating under law of assumption, you want to have, number one, the identity that everything's already yours, right? And what that does is that gives you the ability to understand that from a fourth dimensional mindscape, everything trickles down into a third dimensional mindscape. So when you have everything, it doesn't mean that you have it physically right now, but remember, there's two ways of operating in the world. There's the outer sense man, which is the third dimensional man who uses their five senses to operate the world in a linear way. And then there's also the inner man, which is immediate, which is spiritual sensation. So if I am thinking about my car, right, I can go walk and I can touch my car. If I am perceiving my car with the internal man, right, the inner sense world, right now I can close my eyes and I can feel my car keys. I can feel what the steering wheel feels like. I can feel what it feels like to sit in a chair. I can see the two cup holders. I can see my duffel sports bag in the back. I can touch the sports bag. I can feel the nylon on the sports bag. I can feel my jiu-jitsu gi in the bag. I can feel the belt. I can feel the texture of the belt. I can see how I can go through that entire reality in my mind. So when you are getting something that you already have that you don't currently have expressed in your third dimensional reality, you operate exclusively with the inner man, the inner sense world, right? And you start to condition your being to crystallizing that reality through operation in the fourth dimensional reality. So if I'm somebody who wants to have checks coming in every day, what am I doing? I'm going to my mailbox right now. I'm opening my mailbox. I'm feeling the envelope. I'm seeing, oh, that's my company name on it. Wow, this is great. Oh, I'm feeling like, what would it feel like to be the person who has hundreds of thousands of dollars coming in every month? Oh, wow, this is always, my checks are bigger than I expect. Wow, I open it. Oh, this is interesting. I need to go to the bank. See how I'm constructing reality from a fourth dimensional mindscape? So assumption is, when you go back to Garden of Gethsemane, what that means is resting your attention in the version of you that has it. So instead of thinking linearly from the version of you that doesn't have it, you think and feel from the version that has it. So you basically quantum jump to the end, right? I have this money, I have this person, I have this thing. And it goes without saying that you have to discipline yourself to operate this way. And that's why I'm actually a big fan of law of attraction, because law of attraction teaches you how to discipline your thoughts, and it teaches you about personal magnetism, and it teaches you about the collective agreement we have with reality to manifest our world through our thoughts and our emotions. And then when you take it a step further, you basically bring yourself into the now moment, and you begin to apply law of assumption, where you assume that you are the person you want to be, and you use the discipline that you cultivated through mastering your thoughts in law of attraction to start to architect your ideal reality right now. And you assume that you have it, and say, you don't have the car that you want in the driveway. Well, that's okay, because that feeling state exists right now of you having it. And the only thing that will limit you in law of assumption is your refusal to believe that you have it now. And the way that you get around that is you realize that every single belief, every single thought costs the same energy to basically think. So if I think I don't have something versus thinking I do have something, that costs the same energetic output. It costs the same energetic output for me to think that I'm a millionaire as it does for me to stress about being poor. So when you come in it from that perspective, it's not necessarily anything mechanistically complicated that you need to understand about these laws. It's really having the autonomy and choice point to be able to choose over and over and over again with discipline what you want. And that all comes from self-esteem. It all comes from self-worth. It all comes from being worthy, because if you don't feel worthy, then you won't allow yourself to choose what you really want, right? So when you go through mastering law of attraction, you get the disciplinary skills to control your thoughts. When you go through mastering law of assumption, you teach yourself the emotional side of living in that wish fulfilled 24/7 without needing the physical reality to change. Once you master both of those, they work extremely well in complement, because you're basically mastering thought and emotion, which I just replied to this individual earlier, is the highest achievement you can have in your life. Because once you master thought and emotion, it's essentially like a bow and arrow for creating reality. If I have a bow, the arrow is my thought and the emotion is my drawstring. So when I want something, now I jump to I have it, and I pull it back with the emotion, and I feel my way into feeling what it's like to have it, and I let it go, and I let the universe reflect it. So by mastering these two principles, you open the gateway to really conquering your inner world. And the first phase is to conquer your inner world, because everything external is just a reflection. So in order to control your reality, you first control yourself. And once you control yourself, you gain a degree of skill and mastery that makes your internal state very addictive and fun and enjoyable to cultivate and create. And you realize that your world has to reflect that. And it gives you absolute sovereignty, absolute autonomy, and absolute authority over your third dimensional reality. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe. Leave more recommendations in the comments if you'd like to see new videos. And additionally, there's coaching in the link tree of the description. Go conquer.